Hey friends, my name is Steve Guttenberg. This continues to be the Audiophiliac Daily Show, and this is what it's all about today. The Rega, not Rega, I/O integrated amplifier. 30 watts a channel, made in England. It's got a 3-year warranty. It's got a moving magnet input, 2 line level inputs, and that's pretty much it. No digital inputs at all. It does have a headphone jack, 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. More about that later. But it's, I really enjoyed spending time with this. I'll tell you a bunch about the speakers I played, but I should say right up front that I wish I still had the Vista Spark integrated amplifier. It had a similar form factor as this guy. But that one was more of a bare bones affair. It did not have a remote control. It did not have a moving magnet input. Didn't have a 3-year warranty. It was just a simpler, more bare bones approach to budget integrated amplifiers. That one is made in Serbia, and this one is made in sunny England. I'm sure it's sunny sometimes there. They're close, but there's no cigar, because that one left the premises a couple of months ago. I wish I could still have everything I ever reviewed all here on hand at a moment's notice to compare similar products, but I don't. So anyway, this piece though, I really enjoyed spending time with it. It just had that kind of friendly demeanor. You didn't have to read the owner's manual, how to make it work or anything. It just works. It was a pleasure to use. Made all the speakers I played, and I'll tell you about them in a second, considering it's very affordable and approachable price, $595. It's not going to be paired with $10,000 electrostatic speakers. An amp like this, I would prefer it definitely to err on the side of warm versus cool, rich versus analytical. And that's what it is, and that's what makes it so good. Matter of fact, one of the speakers I used as a primary, because when I run through these speakers, there's one speaker that lingers for a while and the others kind of come and go. But the primary speaker for this review was the KEF LS50. My red LS50s that I've had here for, 6-7 years. I used to have black LS50s, but they got swapped out for these red ones. And, every time I return to the LS50, it's funny, I keep thinking, I really like this speaker. I forget, in the intervals between when I use it, it's like, oh yeah, it's over there. Because that is something that has to stick around, because that is a reference that so many people know so well. Power rating, by the way, is 30 watts per channel into 8 ohms. There's no 4 ohm spec supply. In other words, we don't know what it puts into 4 ohms, but Rega assures me that it can be safely run with 4 ohm speakers, as long as you're not, trying to recreate Madison Square Garden. Up to sane volume levels, 4 ohm speakers will be just dandy with the I/O amplifier. So, the other speaker I used was the Wharfedale Evo 4.3 Towers. And I mentioned in that review that I used the I/O amplifier when I was listening to the Neil Young Red Rocks concert DVD. And what's so fantastic about that DVD is the mix of, Neil Young doing his acoustic thing and Neil Young getting down and rocking his ass off, and he's jumping around on stage. It's kind of funny. It's got to be at least 10 years old, but Neil Young was old then. And but he's having a blast. He's jumping around like a I don't even know how to describe it, but he's having fun, and it's communicated through the screen and through his music. And I was playing it pretty freaking loud. The Wharfedales were not the ideal rock speaker, so I switched over to my Klipsch Cornwall 4s, and those are, if you want to rock out, Klipsch speakers in general are good candidates, and these speakers in particular can play seriously loud without any duress. And the I/O with Cornwall 4 was magical, and I cranked it higher, and I cranked it higher, and I cranked it higher till I could stand no more. And the I/O just kept chugging along, no problem, didn't raise a sweat, and everything was groovy. I mean, Neil Young's, electric tunes, sort of, they want to be played loud, and the IO/Cornwall combination happily obliged. So for this review, I was using the Oppo BDP 105 Blu-ray player as my digital source, no DAC, just directly out of the Oppo into the IO integrated amp. And one of the discs I grabbed was this one, King Crimson's Court of the Crimson King. Say that 3 times fast. Anyway, this edition, this is some anniversary edition, was done by none other than Steven Wilson, who remixed it in 5.1, etc., etc. But I was listening to it exclusively in stereo. And his remixed stereos are really, really good. I mean, to think that this is from 1969, it sounds fantastic. But Steven Wilson, being Steven Wilson, he got the analog 8-track master and all the work parts together so that when he did his mixes for stereo and the surround, he could use first generation parts all the way through. There were never any dubbed down parts. And when you hear that, it sounds so good. I mean, it's crazy to think this recording is 51 years old. And the imaging was so specific. It was so pristine. On some of the tracks, you can hear the instrumental parts, that is, without the vocals, of Court of the Crimson King and Wind and 21st Century Schizoid Man. And when you hear them with just the instruments, it's just incredibly beautiful. Just a stunning recording for the time. And this, remember, this is the first King Crimson album. So they didn't have, a bankroll of money to just do whatever they wanted in a studio. They had to do this pretty quickly, and yet so much care was taken in the recording. And anyway, hearing all of that over the LS50s with the IO was one of those times in my reviewing career where I'm sitting there listening thinking, really? It's that good? So the speakers are around, I don't know, $1,000 a pair now. The amp is $600. This is what $1,600 can buy you in terms of sound quality. It's truly stunning. So the next one I pulled out was the Miles Davis On the Corner box set. Something I've always wanted, but finally I bit the bullet. I bought this one and I'm so glad I did. First of all, the box itself is so beautiful. It's a metal box. It's not metallized foil over cardboard or something. It's a metal box. It's beautifully done. You can hear complete takes, and some of them are over 30 minutes long, of just Miles and this incredible group of musicians just jamming. It's great. So as I'm listening to that, for comparison's sake, I pulled out a Denon PMA 600NE integrated amplifier. Now that one is about $400. It's got more features, more stuff. It has digital inputs. Oh, I didn't use them in this comparison. And I sat there comparing the PMA 600NE versus the IO, and there was no contest that the IO was far more transparent. You could hear into the studio. You could hear the spaces between the musicians far more clearly. It was a total no-brainer as to which one was going to come out on top. The next one I pulled out was this one. This is Little Cruta, as you can plainly see. The album is called Justice, and it's this group. You can see them right there. And they were playing the music of Metallica. Actually, I should say the lyrics of Metallica, set to original string arrangements done in a church in Brooklyn. But it was the beauty of these arrangements that really took me to a different place. I was having a great time. The session was so much fun. They were so into it. And there were different vocalists for different tracks, but they were all great New York-based singers. And it all came together, a one-day session in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, and I was there. And listening to the playback here I can't say it sounded like it did in the church, but the feeling of what was going down at the church was there. And that emotional connection to the music is probably the most important thing that can happen between a listener and a recording. You know, regardless of the system, it doesn't have to be a high-end system to pull that off. Having this ability to just travel back through time and hear sessions, in this case only a little more than a year ago, or listening to the Beatles from a half century ago, that's what this is for. That's what all this gear does at its best. When everything is just right, that's what you get. Oh, I don't want to forget to mention the headphone amplifier built into the I/O. Now, a lot of times with receivers and affordable integrated amplifiers, the headphone jack, headphone amplifier is just there for convenience and it's not there to sound all that great. This case, I think this one, at least when I used it with a set of Sennheiser, actually mass drop Sennheiser HD6XX headphones, this was good. This was seriously good with that King Crimson set I just referred to. That, you know, hearing into that recording, hearing the space, hearing the studio, hearing the spaces between the players, did that stuff really well. This is a serious headphone amplifier, considering it's built into a $595 integrated amplifier. So in other words, if you're serious about headphones and you haven't yet bought a headphone amplifier, there's the bonus point for the I/O integrated amp. My name is Steve Guttenberg. This continues to be the Audiophiliac Daily Show. If you like it, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you already have, thank you so much for doing that. But I'd appreciate it if you check out the Patreon, which can be found at patreon.com/audiophiliac. But as I have said once or twice before, while you're here, check out the playlist. There's playlists for speaker reviews and headphone reviews and music reviews and electronics reviews, just like this one. And then there's interviews with lots of incredible people, Andrew Jones, Nelson Pass, John Grado. The list goes on and on and on. All here, all for you, at your fingertips. And with that, I can now say my work here is at last complete. Thank you again for watching, and I really do hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Bye-bye.